Back in 2013, when point-and-click adventure games were out of fashion, King Art Games was still plugging away at the genre and released The Raven: Legacy of a Master Thief, which was then given a remaster in 2018. Now it's 2019 and it's landed on the Switch, so we've essentially got a re-release of a re-release. Is it worth it? Let's find out. Before we get into it, consider hitting that subscribe button for all the fantastic Nintendo Switch content that we try to produce for you guys. The story for The Raven is obviously very important. It's one of the leading drivers of the point-and-click adventure genre. Our story begins in the 60s, where a priceless jewel is stolen from the British Museum. The thief is a suspected imitation of a previous master thief known as the Raven, who was thought to have been shot dead. This imitator is far more dangerous though, not thinking twice about causing harm to those who stand in his way. Explosions and murder follow in his wake, along with his trademark letters and single feather left at the crime scene. We are introduced to our main character, Constable Zellner, a portly Swiss gentleman assigned to the train in which a second sister jewel is being transported to an exhibition in Cairo. Pretty much dismissed and kept in the dark by the lead investigator, Zellner quickly proves his mettle and gets far more wrapped up in this whirlwind whodunit that this game provides. You're taken on a truncated intercontinental tour from your train journey to Italy and Cairo as you attempt to foil the thief. If you're like me and have fond memories or maybe current interest in whodunit TV shows, then the story of The Raven will be of some interest to you. Personally, when I was growing up in the 90s, it seemed like every time I used to go visit my grandma, she'd be there with her feet up in front of the TV watching an episode of Hercule Poirot or Miss Marple. So for me, there was something a bit warm and cozy while enjoying the story of this game, despite all of the murder. I really enjoyed it, and I was certainly endeared by the characters, even if they can be a little bit one-dimensional. Zellner himself is an unlikely hero. He's middle-aged, balding, has heart problems, and he's pretty much accepted his life of mediocrity until his moment to shine here. It was nice not to play as the all-action hero for once. It's been a while. For me these days, it takes a certain kind of mood to play a point-and-click adventure game, but after reviewing the likes of Bedtime Blues, the solid challenge of Gunman Clive, and a week of endlessly watching brutal Mortal Kombat footage over and over again for my documentary, I most certainly needed The Raven in my life. It's almost like gaming detox. While not a traditional point-and-click game, it's still very much of that nature. There's no pointing or clicking in this Nintendo Switch version. You control Constable Zellner with the analog stick walking around the environments. I actually suspect that pointing and clicking may have been a better choice for this one though, as his movement feels very sluggish and clumsy. Aside from that, it's your standard by-the-books adventure game that I'm sure some of you were hoping for. You talk with people, advance the story, pick up items, use them, combine them, inspect them. You solve problems rather than traditional puzzles. It's more of a practical experience like opening drawers, getting your hands on the right thing for the right person, finding a light, and so on, rather than physical puzzles you have to solve. You will have to do stuff like lockpicking, shade a paper to find an older message, and play a kid's game and so on, but these are few and far between. I prefer this style to be honest, as it does feel a little more real, if a little less gamey, and everything is more grounded and straight to the point. None of it seemed thought out of the box or struck me as ingenious, which is a bit of a shame I guess. I like feeling clever, whereas The Raven seemed very straight-laced. You have an inventory system which you can pick stuff up and then use with other objects in the environment. I didn't find the tasks or their solutions to be too obscure, which is always a worry for adventure games, especially when nowadays we have so much choice as to where to spend our time. I'm not sure you're going to get stumped by this if I'm being honest, especially since, as I stated, everything's pretty much straight to the point. I did encounter some fussy puzzles, one of which came within the first hour when trying to create a flaming torch. The game wanted me to do this in a very specific way, but the manner in which it handled the items needed to do this and their placement, it just seemed like more of a faff than what it was needed to be. There's not really a whole lot to say in regards to the gameplay that you won't already know. It's pretty much by the book, and you're not going to get any surprises here. It's enjoyable for sure, but it won't blow your socks off or anything. It's pretty mild. The soundtrack to The Raven is fantastic. Right from one of the opening scenes as the story makes its way aboard the Orient Express, you have a musical piece fit for a Hollywood movie. It really stood out to me. During the gameplay and from then on I noticed it less, but going back and properly taking note of it, you can hear the quality shine through. Exciting, suspenseful, and perfectly fitting its theme. The Raven is fully voice acted, and I was highly impressed with it too, especially with the voice actor for the main character. He delivers his lines very professionally and makes Zellner feel very likable and real. The rest of the cast hold up well, mostly. There are a few caricatures like the snooty Baroness and the bumbling British Bobby, but aside from those two, I was pretty impressed. Visually, the game is supposed to have a bit of a makeover since its initial release, but having not played its 2013 release, Lord knows if there's been much of a difference. I would say that it looks okay, although I wouldn't say it looks like a game from 1 year ago. Back in 2013 it would look pretty nice, but here it's just middling. I think the lighting could have done with a bit more work for this Switch version, as it's not particularly subtle. The FMV cutscenes don't hold up well, sadly. I assume nothing's been changed here since they look highly compressed and worse than the actual gameplay portions. I thought it was supposed to be the other way around. Now, I don't normally do research prior to reviewing a game, just so I can go in fresh and not be influenced, but I was told by a fellow reviewer that the PC version of this suffered from a myriad of glitches and bugs. I have to say, during my playtime I didn't encounter anything that I would consider a bug, although I would save often just to be sure. I don't think there's an autosave here, so you have to do it manually, don't forget. For value, the Raven Remastered is coming in at $29.99 on the US eShop and £26.99 in the UK. I think that's probably more expensive than people were hoping for, and I do think they are a little ambitious with this one. I'm not saying there isn't quality here, but you have to look at what else is going for that price or cheaper. I'd compare it more to Capcom's Okami or Onimusha. Check out my review, by the way. Both fantastic games from an older era with an affordable $20 price tag. If the Raven could have competed closer to that, I would have been a little more warm to it. Saying that, if you're into point-and-click adventure games, then you know it's a niche genre, and sometimes you have to pay the price, as with Microid Siberia series on the Switch. You'll get a good enthralling 10-hour story with some mildly middling puzzles. That's probably worth it to some. Others may want to wait for a sale of some sort. I believe it's also received a physical copy. THQ Nordic Games usually do, so I'm guessing it will be cheaper soon enough and might be a nice little addition to your Switch collection. If you want to buy it, then consider doing so through our Amazon shop in the link below. It'll be at no extra cost to you, but will help us out very much. Before we get into my final thoughts, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for all the latest great Nintendo Switch content from us. Overall, if you're wanting a captivating whodunit story from yesteryear but made today, then the Raven may just be the game for you. As far as point-and-click adventures goes, it succeeds very well in the story department. The puzzle aspect is a little middling, as it's almost too everyday in its nature. I think there was a lack of ingenuity here, but it's still a great choice for point-and-click adventure fans. Of course, the price could have been a tad cheaper, but I'm sure that will be rectified in due course. It's a 7 out of 10 from me. If you're looking for another more zany type of point-and-click adventure game, then I suggest you head over to watch my review of The Dark Side Detective, which was released last year. I'll see you guys over there. Take care.